just pause and be aware of our painful emotions or whatever we're going through. We want to just be aware of that, to pause and not be overwhelmed by it. And the pause is so important because oftentimes we're kind of on autopilot and we don't even think about stopping and thinking about what we're experiencing, that negative emotion. We just experience it. Hi friends, Kathy Wiens here from Kathy Wiens Coaching. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk again about self-compassion. All right. So in our fast-paced, often pretty demanding world, it's easy to be hard on ourselves. We set high standards and we strive for perfection. And sometimes when things don't go right, we can be pretty hard on ourselves. We can be our own worst critics. But what if we made a decision to treat ourselves with the same kindness and compassion that we would treat a dear friend? Well, that is what self-compassion is all about. It's a gentle, nurturing way to treat our mind and our heart. And so today we are going to explore self-compassion and what it truly means and how it can transform our lives. All right, stay tuned. Okay, so now we're going to look at what self-compassion is, and I've covered this in another video, but I'm just going to go over it again because these three elements are really important, and they come from the research of Kristin Neff, who really is the pioneer of research on self-compassion, and she's done a lot of great work on this. So if you're more interested, I recommend that you look up her research. So her three elements, first is self-kindness versus self-judgment. So instead of being hard on ourselves, critical, being judgmental, with self-compassion or with self-kindness, we treat ourselves with warmth and understanding. Again, it's how we would treat a beloved friend or a loved one. So we acknowledge our imperfections without beating ourselves up over them. So we're not saying this doesn't matter, but we acknowledge, yes, this is what we are experiencing, but we are kind to ourselves rather than critical and judgmental. So that's the first element of self-compassion. The second one is common humanity versus isolation. And what this is recognizing that everyone makes mistakes and experiences hardships. And whatever you are going through, it is very likely, very, very likely, that someone else has experienced that too. Now, this perspective helps us to feel connected to others rather than feel like we are the only ones going through this. And again, it doesn't mean that we minimize what we're experiencing. It still hurts and it's still hard. But sometimes when we recognize that we are not the only ones going through this, it can help us just, change how we view it in a different way. And also, sometimes when we feel like we are the only ones, it is easy to isolate and not reach out to other people. But if we can reach out to other people, that can make the pain of whatever we're going through less. And so common humanity, yes, that's the second one. Common humanity versus isolation is the second element of self-compassion. The third element of self-compassion is mindfulness. Now, in mindfulness, what we're talking about, so it's mindfulness versus over-identification. So in mindfulness, what we need to do is to just pause and be aware of our painful emotions or whatever we're going through. We want to just be aware of that, to pause and not be overwhelmed by it. And the pause is so important because oftentimes we're kind of on autopilot and we don't even think about stopping and thinking about what we're experiencing, that negative emotion. We just experience it. But when we are mindful, we pause and we think about it. We don't over-identify with it. Now, it doesn't mean that we dismiss what we are feeling, that we pretend like it's really not that bad. We can feel the feeling, the sadness, or whatever it is. These emotions can be really difficult to deal with. So we recognize, yeah, this is hard. What I'm going through is hard. But when we are mindful of it, we recognize the emotion, we don't let it overwhelm us, and we realize that it's something we are going through, but it's not who we are. And so just making that distinction, again, pausing and thinking about it, can really be helpful, and it can be a way that we can practice self-kindness when we recognize that this is something we're experiencing, but it's not who we are. Okay, so now I want to share with you what are some of the benefits of self-compassion. And there are 5 that I want to share with you today. So self-compassion can benefit us by, it offers us a multitude of things that will enrich our emotional health, our mental health, and also our physical health. So like I said, there are 5 that I want to share with you. The first benefit of self-compassion is that it enhances our emotional resilience. So when we treat ourselves with compassion, we actually are building a foundation of emotional strength. And this resilience helps us to navigate life's ups and downs, and we can navigate them with greater ease. And this means that it may reduce anxiety and depression. And so the first benefit of self-compassion is to build that emotional resilience, that emotional strength. Okay, so a second benefit of self-compassion is improved relationships. So self-compassion fosters a healthier, kinder, more gentle relationship with ourselves. And when we can be kinder and gentler and more supportive with ourselves, then that enhances other relationships with other people. And the reason for that is because when we care for ourselves, when we give ourselves what we need, and we aren't seeking that from other people, then we can actually be more caring and compassionate to them. So basically, when we are caring and compassionate to ourselves, we are better able and equipped to give that to other people, because we don't need to get it from them. We are getting that support and that care from ourselves. All right, thanks. Okay, the third benefit of self-compassion is increased motivation. Now, contrary to popular belief that self-criticism drives success, it has actually been proven that it's self-compassion that gives us more motivation. So if we think about that, when we have a failure or something painful has happened, or we've done something, if we are actually self-compassionate with ourselves, then we are better able to pick ourselves up and try again, rather than being paralyzed by the fear of failure. And so if you think about that, when you do something happens to you, or you do something and you just ruminate about the negative parts of that, you're critical, you're self-judgmental, that rumination takes up a lot of energy. Whereas if we can just pause and be compassionate with ourselves, realize everyone makes mistakes, then it's more likely that we're going to be able to move on. So the third benefit of self-compassion is that it can increase our motivation. So the fourth benefit of self-compassion is better physical health. And who doesn't want that, right? Okay, so the mind-body connection is powerful. And practicing self-compassion can lead to lower levels of stress and inflammation and just better overall immune functioning and just improved physical health. So that's the fourth benefit of self-compassion. And the last one, the fifth benefit of self-compassion, is increased self-awareness. And so self-compassion encourages mindfulness. And remember, I've talked about this in other videos, but mindfulness is just when we pause and we recognize what we're feeling, and we're not pulled into what we're feeling, but we recognize it's just something that we're feeling that's happening to us. It's not us. So when we do that, we are able to become more attuned to our needs and our emotions, and this allows us to make decisions that are better aligned with our own well-being. So when we practice self-compassion, we can be more self-aware, and then, it just helps us to make better decisions because we're not so caught up in those negative emotions. So these are 5 benefits of self-compassion, and that's what I'm going to, just for this video today. I'm sure there are more, but these are just the ones that I've covered here today. If self-compassion feels foreign or challenging, you're not alone, but it is a skill that can be cultivated with practice. So let me share with you some of the ways that we can cultivate self-compassion in daily life. First, we can practice mindfulness. Spend a few minutes each day in mindful reflection. Notice your thoughts and feelings without judgment. Accept them as they are. We can also talk to ourselves kindly. When you make a mistake or face a setback, pause and ask yourself, what would you say to a friend in the same situation? And then offer yourself the same kindness and understanding. Next, we can acknowledge our common humanity. Remind yourself that everyone experiences difficulties. You are not alone in your struggles. And finally, write a self-compassion letter. Write a letter to yourself describing a difficult situation you're facing. Use a compassionate and understanding tone. Then read it back to yourself, absorbing the kindness and empathy. And you can take that self-compassion letter a step further by mailing it to yourself, old school snail mail style. It's always a treat to receive something other than junk mail. And once you've sent it, try and forget about it. That way, when it arrives, it will be a delightful surprise. Embracing self-compassion is a gentle journey, not a destination. It's about making small, consistent efforts to treat ourselves with the kindness we deserve. As we nurture this compassionate relationship with ourselves, we open the door to a more peaceful, fulfilling life. So the next time you find yourself caught in the whirlwind of self-criticism, take a deep breath, place your hand on your heart, and remind yourself you are worthy of the same compassion you so freely give to others. And in that moment, you take a beautiful step toward embracing the wonderful, resilient person you truly are.